You are listening to the Secret Teachings Radio. This is our Friday pre-show with video on various social media platforms, including YouTube, X, and Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight's topic is the Dogman and other subsequent stories of transformations into other animals, and also perhaps lizard men as well. We'll talk about all of that and more tonight on the show. If you've missed any of our previous episodes, we have a very large list of Halloween shows that you'll probably want to go back and listen to. We have episodes from the last 2 weeks looking at the origins of Halloween, looking at the origin of certain ritualistic aspects and components of this particular holy day. We also have shows on the myths and the origins of vampires and ghosts, and also monsters, which is kind of a generalized term, but we did a show called Monster Mash earlier this week. We looked at some of the origins of what a monster is. We looked at the mythos of monsters and mythology, etc. For those of you watching this, which I think is the majority, you will see on your screen that there is the free archive that anybody can access. So if you're on YouTube and you're hearing this and you're watching this, know that we do a show Monday through Friday. This YouTube video show and Facebook and X is only for, well, it's really just for listeners who have supported us. And this show on Fridays is the video portion is for listeners who have helped to keep us on air. So we try to do something special and unique. If I did this every night and just gave it away for free, then we wouldn't be able to do the show at all. So we are supported because listeners subscribe to the archive. This one right here, it's free, but if you subscribe to the archive on our website, what happens is you get access to the advertisement-free shows, and you get access to all of the additional content on the website, including digital copies of my books if you subscribe to the yearly show, and more. The same free archive is on the website as well. You can scroll through all the old shows. We did a vampire show Monday, the ghost show, and Diwali as well on Tuesday, Monster Mash on Wednesday, and a more Halloween-themed religious show on Thursday. If you have missed any of those, please go back and listen to them, download them, stream them, whatever you choose to do, however you choose to support us. I very much appreciate that. Thank you very much. As I said, tonight is the Dogman show. We will get started here relatively soon. We have a little bit of a pre-show. We have our good friend and co-host Mike D with us here in just a moment, and we will then pause and go to the show introduction. I have to repeat this, however, because we have a lot of listeners that come to us through social media. They don't know we do a Monday through Friday show, and they ask me to do more shows, or they'll wonder why I only do one show a week. And we don't. We do Monday through Friday. The vast majority of you know that. The vast majority of you are aware of that. And also, I think the vast majority of you are probably pretty aware of the Dogman stories. And although the Dogman story, if you kind of look it up it's in a way, I guess it's mainstream news. If you kind of look the Dogman story up, I was reading about it last night, and something said that it was a relatively new story that comes out of the Great Lakes area. And I thought, well, maybe a fraction of it, but I'm pretty sure that the Dogman story is as old as human imagination. All over the world, people have, throughout history, blended or morphed or changed into one animal or another. They've changed into dogs, they've changed into wolves, they've changed into, which is the werewolf, they've changed into lizards, they've changed into pretty much anything that exists in nature. People have transformed into trees in the myths. So the Dogman thing is not necessarily new, although maybe it's a new interpretation of an old myth. Like I said, we will discuss and talk about all of that tonight on the show. Let's see if we have Mike here for our pre-show introduction. Mike, are you with us?
Hey, y'all. How you doing?
think and hope everybody's good in the chat. I'm doing good. Are you doing good?
Yeah, I'm seeing in the chat that your mic is a little fuzzy. Like you're in
My
a, not fuzzy, but you're
mic
like,
is fuzzy.
yeah, it's like you're in a tin can, like a little bit underwater,
Huh.
like murky.
Well,
Your mic is murky.
I know why that is. Wow, it did it again, just like your settings changed and you got kicked from the StreamYard. Mine automatically changed too, and it kicked me off of the mixing board.
You just got to turn yourself up.
Yeah, no, not turn up. It kicked me off the mixing board, so it was picking up the computer audio. Should be good now.
Yeah, it's good. You're just a little low. Your volume.
Still low?
No, now it's. Go ahead, do a check. Check 1 2.
Yeah, it should be good now because it
Yeah,
booted me off the board and into the computer microphone.
yeah.
That's
We had a Wilcock issue there. Had to put our makeup on during the camera was off.
Yeah, because these fucking computers do everything automatically, and I want to be able to control it myself. You know, when I set the settings to something, that's what I chose, and I don't want the computer to change it, but it always changes it. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good now.
Let's see. We've got a lot of listeners in the chat coming in. So anyway, Mike, pre-show, anything to share with us in the pre-show? What are we going to hear tonight? What are we going to talk about tonight?
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about the Dogman and then some other cryptids. Got a good rake story, and we got a good lizard man story, and then a little bit maybe about the Cecil Hotel and some of the happenings going on there. So it's kind of a little bit of a, I would say, a Halloween aspect to it. So for sure.
This is our probably our 10th Halloween show. I got started on Halloween earlier last week. So we'll take these shows and expand on them next week on the secret teachings as we approach Halloween. I was wondering if you wanted to do a Halloween stream with us next week.
I think I probably can. Just need to check my Palm Pilot. Looks at Palm.
All right.
I don't know. You remember? You remember what was it? Money Mark, a Money Matt. What was that? Friday, the movie Friday, Magic Mike or whatever his name
You know,
was.
it's been so long. I don't think I remember that.
It was that comedian that played the little pimp. What was that? Oh my god. Anyway.
But what is your palm? What is your
Oh,
palm?
my palm. I'll have to check my calendar. I should be able to do it. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll have to figure it out because when is Halloween? Your time,
I
Halloween?
think it's a Friday.
That should work out then because Saturday is
Cat Williams, exactly. Who said that in there? Boomer Zoomer. Boomer Zoomer Zoomer. That's right. That was Money Mike. Yes, that's right. Money Mike. Money now. Need money now.
Boomer Sooners in the chat. We'll go through these listeners here in a second as people trickle into the show. We'll put the comments on the page too here.
Yeah, just to go off what you said about someone saying that the Dogman phenomenon was recent. That's definitely not true. There's engravings, and we'll talk about it when we get into the show. But there's engravings in Germany where they talk about a creature, wolf-like creature. Those they've been going on thousands of years.
They have in every culture you can think of.
Yeah,
I think the Egyptians even had people that, or in the myths, they had people that transformed into certain kinds of monsters.
Oh yeah, got the Anubis looking dog.
Well, you also have different interpretations of all this stuff, right? Because I think lycanthropy is considered considered more of like a clinical disease or a clinical psychosis, and in the traditional writings about werewolves, lycanthropy is considered like a secondary or a separate thing from the actual werewolf transformation. So there's like a psychosis aspect to it. There's a physical aspect. There's also scientific explanations for it as well, as with the vampire. I was even reading. I did not know this. I was reading that the original word in Greek for werewolf, or no, Slavic, excuse me, in Slavic, has the same meaning as vampire, because the werewolves would drink people's blood and they would come out at night and they had to have the blood to sustain themselves. So the werewolf and the vampire were almost identical, at least etymologically, in the Slavic languages.
Interesting.
I did not know that. Thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we started talking about Dogman years and years ago. Now, after brushing up on some research, I see that the internet it's just littered with garbage, fake
Oh,
pictures, fake
oh yeah.
video. It's
Yep.
really hard to get something legit. But we're going to go through a couple of stories of some eyewitnesses that I think aren't lying, and we'll get their reaction. One guy said, he didn't know what he saw. He said they looked like giant wolves, but he didn't know what they were.
Yes.
He didn't say they were werewolves or they were dogman. He just said that they looked like giant wolves and they're walking on their legs. Uh,
You find in different cultures too, whatever you have uh, close to you. So if you live in a place where there really are not wolves, obviously you don't have werewolves. You might have tigers in China though, or lions, or you might even have lizards. But yeah, you have different types of creatures depending on where you live in the world. I mean, if you're in the Americas, the coyote is actually pretty popular, and maybe in the Southwest, you have coyotes. They said the medicine men transform into coyotes or hyenas in some places.
yes.
So yeah, it's not just wolves, and it's not just the psychosis aspect, or it's not just the physical transformation aspect. There's other elements to it as well. I find that interesting. I find that really I think that's cool, but, that doesn't no apparently, the algorithms don't like that, and I guess there aren't really audiences for that, outside of small niche groups, because when you go online and you look up this stuff, that is what you see. You just see made up garbage and trash that makes all the money and gets all the attention, just total trash. But then you do get people that have actually witnessed something, and they're like, "Well, I don't really know what I saw." But that's not who Coast to Coast's interviewing. That's not who these fly by night hack podcasters are interviewing. They're interviewing people usually who have they cut the alien in half like Art Bell back in the 90s, and the alien killed their dog and they put the alien in the freezer. That kind of sensational bullshit.
Well, you hit the alien over the head with a baseball bat after it sucks your dog into a black hole.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
then you drag the alien back to your house and put him in the freezer. And then out of nowhere, men in black come and raid your house and get the alien out of your freezer in your
Yeah,
garage.
yeah. That's high quality radio right there. It's good stuff.
And you obviously Photoshop a giant black triangle in the woods that obviously looks like it's early 2000s Photoshop.
You see, in the 90s, that kind of a story was it was unique because not many people were telling it, and because I mean, if you listen to those older Art Bell shows, he's got the website. It tells people to go to the website, and they got pictures of it on the website. There was no social media. There was no like streaming broadcast on the go. If you wanted to listen to something like that, you had maybe one, two, three choices. You had radio. You had to tune into something physically, and now anybody can make something up. Anybody, and people have seen how profitable those stories are, both for their wallets and also for their egos. And so people make that shit up all the time, every day, nonstop. UFOs, abductions, uh, cattle mutilations, wolfmen, etc., dogmen, because it makes money and it also gets attention. It's really disgusting, because
Yeah.
there's a legitimate area of inquiry here to study. And if you read I don't know if you read, for example, I've got a couple of books here on the werewolf. If you read Montague, is it Montague Summers? I think is his name, Montague Summers. I mean, if you read that book, that's like a scholarly work on the werewolf. It's like 600 pages of etymology and myth and where the stories come from. And that's a whole lot different than I saw a dog man in the backyard and you put that person on Coast to Coast. There's a huge difference between these two things.
Yeah, I find it interesting too after doing some research on YouTube of shows covering Dogman. There's a guy, oh man, I forget the name of the show. Dogman. I forgot the name of the show, but I was listening to a bunch of his videos. I mean, he's been doing this for years, but went through and picked out a couple from each year, and he was every show was something negative on the Dogman, right?
Really?
Even when this, and he never shows his face, kind of like me, and his voice is kind of modulated too, but even when I was listening to some where, you know, it was a hunter with like 20 years experience and he saw something, and then the guy, the website guy would go like, oh, well, you're lucky he didn't attack you because they're known to kill people left. You know,
Oh yeah, yeah.
just like, I don't know if he's doing it. It almost seems like, you know, if I was to reach out there, like he was like a government agent to make these things seem like they're better than they really are. It was just weird to me.
Yeah, I've heard this story before. I think we've probably talked about it with Linda Godfrey when she was, when she would come on the show before she passed away. There is a little bit of that where people try to make, I mean, rationally, logically, objectively, it's probably just people trying to be sensational to get people to listen to them because fear sells.
Yes.
But it also might, there's theories that, yeah, there might be maybe government agents or something like that, or I don't know, corporate agents, somebody who knows what these things are and are trying to paint them as violent, which it's almost like the opposite of Stephen Greer, who always paints the aliens as being positive, like he's an ambassador for them.
True. Yeah.
And both of those things sell, whether it's like they're going to kill you or it's love and light, just two extremes. You're going to find an audience full of dumb people to buy it. That's the problem with, I mean, having done this for so long myself, that's the problem that I've noticed at the core of every issue, is that if you have an actual conversation about something and it's not backed by talking points or people paid for it or whatever the case might be, real conversations don't really get you anywhere. Because even if you think like, well, I listen to Joe Rogan and Joe Rogan's an open conversation. Well, I mean, it is to a certain extent, but there are certain things on that show, if you bring them up and you talk about them and you want to have an open conversation, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a little bit difficult. There's very few places you can go where you can actually have a legitimate conversation. People's programming gets in the way of that. There's very little of that in radio, very little of that in podcasting, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we were doing this years and years ago, we bring up Dogman. People were just like, "Oh, I don't understand that. I'll talk about Bigfoot. That's what I want to say."
Yeah,
and now it seems like the Dogman has surpassed Bigfoot in ways of, you know, media hype and coverage. It's just funny to me. It's funny.
Yeah, the Bigfoot fanatics might disagree, but I know what you're saying. I remember that on Dark Matter Radio, people would, well, especially Keith Rowland would email us, why don't you guys do something on the Dogman? It's like, because Keith, we're busy doing things about black magic at the Vatican. I'm pretty sure that's a little bit more paranormal than fucking guys covered in fur and fake Bigfoot prints. You've got 3 other shows that do that.
Yeah, I think he was talking about, you know, hey, why don't you cover Bigfoot and the handprints on the guy's car or whatever. There was a story that came out about that time of hand marks on the guy's window or something. I'm like, what?
He made them himself. That's the story.
Yeah.
Those stories are so easy to fake.
It's so, I mean, granted, what we'll talk about, some of these stories are, you know, I mean, still a little sketchy to me, but I tried to pull the most logical ones. And of course, you're going to see video, and it's going to be dramatized by, you know, Terror in the Woods and Paranormal Witness. They're going to make it look goofy, but the interviews are with the real people, right? So we'll get something close to what they experienced, and, you know, not some dramatic, you know, hyped up TV segment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you remember one question, and then we'll get started? Do you remember that guy we interviewed? I think correct me if I'm wrong. I think his name was Mike Lebecki.
Oh yeah, that was the
Yeti.
the Russian. The Yeti in Russia.
And remember what he told us? He told us that he tell us that he said the Discovery Channel was very kind to him and that he had a good time working with these people. They weren't bad people, but they needed content. So they faked, you know, the Yeti sounds, they faked the Yeti cave, they faked some of the pictures. It was all staged.
Yes, what he said is like he did what they asked him to do, but put in on the facts and what he and the evidence that he uncovered. But they didn't send him a final clip, and then it aired, and he was just like, "What the hell? I never said that."
Yep.
And they distorted some of the facts of the case, and he was super pissed off.
Yep. I think we interviewed him twice. Should try to dig up that interview. That would be, maybe just find that clip of him explaining that.
Yeah, and we were kind of like, wow, this turned into a really great interview because he just showed the scam of these television shows,
Yep. Yep.
But I did research the ones that we show, that we'll show tonight, and the people didn't say that it was over dramatized or there wasn't facts in. And I kind of chalk it up to of people that tell the same story over and over again and don't distort the facts. They're either super good liars or they're being truthful, right?
Or they're channeling like Bashar.
So you have this kid, we'll talk about it too, in South Carolina, black kid that saw the lizard man, and the lizard man attacked his car coming home from a 2 a.m. shift at some fast food place in 1989. Now, my feelings of that, right, and we'll get started with the show, but
I don't know why I believe a black kid more than a white kid.
I believe him too, because in 1989, 90, you had to be tough, right? And to go around to your homies and say that you were attacked by a lizard, they're just gonna make fun of you. You're gonna be the laughing stock of your high school. They're gonna point fingers at you. But this kid never budged on his story. Never.
Yes.
And the sheriff actually went to his house because his dad, when he got home, he was such in a frenzied state. His dad didn't really know what was going on. Turn that off, god damn it. He called the sheriff because his son was so frazzled. So sheriff went over there, did the interview, and looked at the evidence of the car. There were deep scratches on the car. And again, the kid never budged from his story for years and years. And he never made a dime off of it. That's the second thing to look for. Did they make money off this?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a motive to make money?
Well, yeah. So let me clarify when I say I believe the black kid and not the white kid, because black kids don't typically have a history of making up stories about aliens or Bigfoot, but white kids do. White people do, and especially white women. They love that shit. I tend to believe the black guy didn't make that story up for the reasons you explained and others. That's not like the main point that I would like to make. I'm just saying, just to clarify my statement. That's why I tend to believe the black kid more than the white people, because white people love making shit up about aliens and Bigfoot and crystals and making things up about channeling or making things up about. I mean, can you name one black person who's a con artist like this? Billy Carson. That's about it. They're all white people.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what I said, like, being in that time frame of 1989, and being a black teenager, you weren't going to go around to your high school and brag that you saw the lizard man because they're going to dog you.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with Betty and Barney Hill too, because they were a quote interracial couple. And for when that story took place, it's the exact same thing you're describing. It's not something, I mean, I don't know what you think of that abduction case, but it's not something that an interracial couple you would think would do.
Once splattered all over the news to point fingers and, look, and then people track down where they live. Yeah, of course, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look at the chat real fast here, and then we'll get started with the actual show itself. We'll go back to the beginning of the show. The Head 9191 is here. Hey, look, Troubled Minds is here as well. I think he was the first one in the chat tonight. Pound Town is here. Thank you, PT, for joining us. Yes, we have a live show today. Vic is here. Misto Stokos, Road Thunder. I don't think I've seen Road Thunder in the chat before. Excuse me if you've been in there. I may have missed you. Renee Brew is here. I don't know if I've seen Renee in the chat either. Floor Sarali is here. Good evening. Not sure if it was already mentioned, but is Mike D on the show tonight? This was a little bit earlier. So yeah, Mike is on the show. Mike, you have some fans, Mike.
Send me your money.
Tim Curley is here. Hello, Tim. Happy Friday, Tim. Diane Perry from Deer Park, California. And yeah, it is, I think, early afternoon where you are in California. What time is it there, Mike, where you are? 7?
7. Yes.
Yeah, so it's only 4 something in California. I guess it is an early show. And let's see who else we have. We have to do the show. We really have to get started because I'm going to be on Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis to do Oracle cards at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So we'll have to get started here very soon. Antonio is here. Hello, Antonio. Trying to name everybody I can because I don't want to take up the time to do this on the show itself. Through the Darkness is here. Hello. I don't know if I've seen you in the chat for a while. The K, I think it's Kevin Sikevers. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Let's see who else we have in the chat room real quick, and we'll get started. Rita is here from Facebook. She's listening on Facebook, I think. Boomer Sooner, we mentioned you. Joe Ryder is here. Flux is here as well. Hello, Flux. Joe Ryder says, hello, Mike D.
Yo.
Hello. Let's see who else we have in the chat. We're almost done. Death0910 is here. Good evening. And I'm almost done scrolling through this. Well, I see my own comments. I tried to post, somebody had said, Tim Curley said, I heard a Jimmy Church guest tell that alien in the freezer story. And I tried to say Jimmy Church is a hack piece of shit, but YouTube rejected my comment. I had to change it to Jimmy Church is trash. So put that on the screen. Yes, and Stephen Greer is also trash. You are correct, Joe Ryder. Rita, is this another Rita or the same Rita? It's also here. It's the same Rita, I think. Joe Roop is here. Joe Roop is also here. Joe says he spent his entire life in the woods, never seen Dogman or Bigfoot. Well, that's because you probably have integrity and didn't make up the stories. That's probably one of the main reasons. Drew is here as well, and Bad Whiskey is here. Also, About Above is here too. All right, Mike, are you ready?
Yes.
About Above says they're listening in Scotland. I wonder if you ever listened to the late, great Kev Baker. If you ever listen to Kev Baker, message me in the chat. Let me know. Kev was a great guy. Miss Kev. All right. Here we go, Mike. I will bring up the show picture, and we will get started. Going into the live show now, the actual show itself. This was the pre-show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello? Anybody home?
Today, I want you to open your mind.
I've almost come to the conclusion that the story is so damning that the mass of people can't deal with it.
We are in process of developing a whole series of techniques to get people actually to love their servitude.
We face a hostile ideology, global in scope, atheistic in character, ruthless in purpose, and insidious in method.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
To change the minds and the attitudes and the beliefs of the people to bring about one world socialist totalitarian government.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists.
It has patterned itself after every dictator who has ever planted the ripping imprint of a boot on the pages of history since the beginning of time.
If you can get people to consent to the state of affairs in which they are living, then you have a much more easily controllable society than you would if you were relying wholly on clubs and firing squads and concentration camps.
Tools of conquest do not necessarily come with bombs and explosions and fallout. There are weapons that are simply thoughts, attitudes, prejudices.
As you connect the dots between different people, organizations, religions, history, suddenly the picture starts to form.
The kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men.
Someone born in the United States is not more special than someone born in Mexico. Someone who is white is not more special than someone who is black. They're just vehicles for the consciousness to experience.
They do not want your children to be educated. They do not want you to think too much.
It was learned that the aliens had been and were then manipulating masses of people through secret societies, witchcraft, magic, the occult, and religion.
They reach into our children in music, television, books.
Prey on children's innocence.
How can I disprove lies that are stamped with an official seal?
So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it feels like an altar to an alien god.
Genetic power is the most awesome force the planet's ever seen, but you wield it like a kid that's found his dad's gun.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc is now in the possession of the Army.
Too many others know what's happening out there. And no government agency has jurisdiction over the truth.
Any state, any entity, any ideology that fails to recognize the worth, the dignity, the rights of man, that state is obsolete. A case to be filed under M for mankind in the Twilight Zone.
It's about time some of you got acquainted with the real hard truth.
It's the heart that says, I will not acquiesce.
Freedom is the privilege to be right. Freedom from the disasters of our mistakes.
You don't connect the dots. It's just a mass of what's all this about.
You are listening to the Secret Teachings Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Gable. If you'd like to contact the show tonight, you can email TST, or rather rdgable@yahoo.com. Visit tstradio.info, the website. It is Friday, October 24th, 2025. You will find our social media links as well on the website. Some of you are probably listening to this show on social media because it is Friday, and we have the live stream going for Friday evenings. Those of you who are not listening and watching on social media or on YouTube, which I guess is that social media? I guess it's considered social media. You can visit our website, and most of you probably know that too, but we have listeners from a variety of different parts of the world listening in different ways. But you can visit our website, find the entire show archive, all of our past episodes. That's tstradio.info. That's tstradio.info. You can see it scrolling at the bottom of your screen. There's also links below the show. And if you're listening in the audio archive, audio only, which I think is about 97% of the audience, some of you probably already know that, but you can look down below the show description and find all the links to the show as well. Tonight's episode of The Secret Teachings is focused on the Dogman, and the Dogman will also include the werewolf and other similar monstrous transformations. We also have Mike D with us tonight, our good friend and co-host. For a very long time, Mike has been with us, and he will join us here very shortly to talk about the Dogman. I don't know what you think of when you hear the word Dogman, or what you think of when you hear the word werewolf. I think pop culture has conditioned us to think that these are mystical fabrications of the mind, and in one way they are. I think if you watch TV shows, if you've watched the new Wednesday TV show, they turn the werewolf into something that is, well, quite frankly, it's an abomination of everything that is occult as far as I'm concerned. I thought that the werewolf story of the girl was just, I mean, I couldn't really watch it. It was horrendous. And so if you really want to learn about werewolves, I'd recommend that you read Montague Summers' book about the werewolf, about the etymology of the word, where it comes from, what the term means outside of the etymological origin, because even though there is an etymological origin of what werewolf means, you can apply it to other animals as well. So there are like were tigers and were lions and were bears, and people can transform into any number of things. Usually it's what you are living in proximity to. So if you live somewhere where there really are not a lot of bears running around, then you're probably not going to have people that transform into a bear. If you have a place that is, overrun with hyenas or wolves, then you're probably going to have people that transform into hyenas or wolves. In fact, I believe it was in parts of northern Egypt, the magic or medicine men or the priests were said to transform into hyenas. This was in Egypt. And in the Scandinavian countries, it was more so bears. And wherever you look in the world, including Romania, where we have the stories of the vampire we learned earlier this week, the Wallachians, Wallachia is a part of Romania. This is where, Dracula comes from, which is also not a new story and has many different variations. The Wallachians dreaded not just Dracula, they dreaded the were-dog. So in the same part of the world where we largely in pop culture think Dracula came from, well, there is also the dog man in Romania. In India and different parts of the Himalayan part of the world, people transformed into were-tigers. There are people that transformed also into were-jaguars or leopards, depending on what part of the world you're looking at. So this is a very universal thing. If you look at Mexico, Central America, South America, you have people that transformed into were-serpents as well as tigers. There's also were-eagles. So some people transform into birds as much as they transform into serpents that slither or other animals that walk across the ground. And, there's a relationship here that this story shares also with like Oannes, the fish human god. And if you think, of course, of the Egyptian pantheon of gods that are half human, bodily human, and their head is that of an animal, you have a very similar idea here. Of course, Anubis is probably the most iconic dog man anywhere in the world, at least in the Western world. I think people have been inundated with Egyptian iconography. It's all over the place. And I think Anubis is probably the most well-known. And if you do know Anubis, you might, and you don't know the following, you might find this really interesting, that in the Egyptian mythology and in the Egyptian underworld, you find something there that you also find in Aztec mythology. Because in Aztec mythology, they also had a dog-headed deity who was also associated with death, who is also a guide of souls in the underworld. And this is a common theme, that in the underworld, there are bird-headed deities, serpent deities, and there are dog or jackal or wolf-like deities. Most of it, of course, has to do with what you're surrounded by, what's in your local environment. It's not so much that the myth is a myth per se, in the sense that it's all made up fantasy and people just had the same fantasies. It's that these are near-death experiences. These are things that are induced by the usages of substances like blue water lily in Egypt, you've heard me discuss, or say ayahuasca in the Americas, or peyote, or poppy, or ergot, or soma, or whatever the case might be. And you see very similar things because not only is the underworld or the netherworld a reflection or an inversion of this world, which means that you're going to have inversions of animals and plants and things like that as well, but it's probably a subconscious and an unconscious projection of things that you understand. So you understand, humans and dogs, and this is, in the modern world, dogs are man's best friend, right? So perhaps you've heard stories about alien abductions where the aliens appear as something that makes you feel comfortable. So whatever it is that we're experiencing on the other side, it's a universal thing. In Norse mythology, there's if you're a mythology fan like I am, there's the dog that guards the gates of hell, the Norse underworld. Hell is also a goddess, Garmir. And they are described as like a blood-stained dog who howls before Ragnarok. And that dog might have something to do with Canis Major, the dog that follows Orion, because Orion's belt is considered a wrist in the Mississippi Valley, and that wrist with the stars, which creates like a bracelet, is the portal by which you enter the other world. And when you enter the other world, you're followed by the dog. So you find that in Egyptian, you find that in Aztec, you find that in Greek, you find that in Norse mythology and Greek mythology. It's Cerberus, the three-headed dog. You saw that in Harry Potter as well. In Incan mythology, it's Supay, dog god of the underworld. And there's also the Gaelic. I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's like Chusith or something like that. I have no idea how to pronounce the Celtic. Although if you look at the language and you look at the art, it's very, I would say, ayahuasca-esque. And it's likely the Celtic people were big fans of the mushroom, big fans of Amanita muscaria, big fans of the symbol that for some people might actually be the root of most religions. That's another show we'll talk about another time. There's also a dog creature in the Far East in Chinese and Japanese mythology as well. So again, this is a universal thing. And like vampires, there's two things here before we really get started with the show with our good friend Mike D. There's two things I wanted to share with you. Number one is the vampire, there's different scientific explanations, right? So you have porphyria, and this is where you might have red stained teeth. You have a sensitivity to light, so you might have very pale skin because you don't get a lot of light. And also, it's a neurological condition. And so if you looked at porphyria combined with the stories of vampirism, you get a scientific explanation from erratic behavior to the red stained teeth to photosensitivity. I mean, this is vampiric. And then, of course, some of the other elements of the vampire spawned out of perhaps improper or misunderstood burial practices, the burying of bodies of people that were not completely dead. So they would they'd have a bell attached to a string into the coffin. And then if you were alive, you'd pull it and they'd have a grave digger who hopefully didn't fall asleep come and dig you out of the grave. So these were the dead that came back to life. Those stories get started in a village. The dead came back to life, or a body that's bloated and there's blood coming out of the mouth. So they were eating people or drinking their blood. The reason that porphyria or other forms of explanations for vampires is relevant to the werewolf is because the Greek word for werewolf actually comes from Slavic, according to Montagu Summers, and the Slavic word is the same word for vampire. And in some places they believe that if you are a werewolf during life, you transform into a wolf or tiger or whatever, but wolf specifically, and then you transform back, and you do that when you're alive. If you're eventually killed, you will actually be resurrected as a vampire. So it's not just the etymological origin in Greek and Slavic, it's also the mythos of the creature itself, because the werewolf is said to, in a sense, be undead. It's said to drink the blood of its victims. It obviously acts very erratic. It obviously transforms at night. The werewolf, if you were to shoot it, for example, or wound it, the person who's supposed to be the wolf, or again, the tiger or whatever it is, will, when they transform back into their human form, will have a wound that is equated to the wound on the animal that was shot or stabbed or whatever it was. And that might be explained away by porphyria as well, because skin lesions are one of the symptoms of it. And you can also look at the scientific explanation for what they call hypertrichosis, which is a super rare genetic disorder that causes excessive hair growth. There's even a term for this. It's called werewolf syndrome, where people sort of transform into, I guess, physical, hairy people. That's not the origin of the werewolf, but there is a scientific explanation. There is an explanation that is rational in the mythology and in the fantasy lore. And I think we've kind of devolved the lore with pop culture. I mean, if you read about the werewolf and then you watch that new season of Wednesday, you're like, what in God's name is this? This is a travesty. This This should be illegal. This is just horrific. I can't watch this. This is trash. This is garbage. Go read some of the old books on werewolves. Go read some of the scientific explanations for werewolves. I think that this is a lot more interesting. Perhaps I'm just biased, but I think it's a lot more interesting than all this really Halloween nonsense about monsters and vampires, and it's a lot of trash. What it is, as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot more interesting things than the kind of pop culture garbage that we get fed. So anyway, the vampire and the werewolf have a lot in common, and depending on where you look in the world, people transform into all sorts of other things. And as I bring our good friend Mike D onto the show here, I will say that I looked up just mainstream, hey, what's the definition of a werewolf, just to get an idea, or a dogman, to get an idea of what, if you or just a random people looked it up online from hearing this show, didn't know anything else about the dogman, and just looked it up online, like what would the internet tell them? And it was, well, the dogman was invented, and it was promoted by, people like Linda Godfrey, and it was all fake or made up, or people believe it's real. But the core of what I was reading online was that it's a relatively new invention, and it comes from the Great Lakes area. And I'm thinking, then why am I reading about the Central and South American underworlds, and why am I reading about the African underworld and Asian underworlds, and why they all have dogmen in them, Anubis, jackal-headed, wolf-like creatures? It's not a new thing. And on that note, I remember reading in one of Linda Godfrey's books, and I think she talked about it when she was on the show. For those of you who don't know, she passed away several years ago. She had talked about how, depending on how you perceive these things, one person that she documented in her book had actually seen in their room not just a dogman, but they saw Anubis, because that's what they understood, which sort of is taking us through that route into the perceptions of reality that we create, like with UFOs, where, for some people it's a flying ship, for some people it's a light beam, for some people it's nuts and bolts, for some people it's etheric. It depends on what you choose to see. For some people, the aliens are really kind and nice, and for some people they're all really evil. It's a byproduct of the choice that you make in terms of what you want to and what you choose to see. With aliens and demons and angels are described as demons, but some people would see angels as angels, and some people would see them as demons. So it's a matter of perspective and perception. And whatever it is that we're seeing, a lot of this is happening at night. A lot of this is happening on the border between worlds, which is, of course, right now is a great time to see the Dogman, because the line between the worlds is blurred as we enter into, through the fall into the winter. And as that occurs, you, as a human, are also sort of blended and stretched apart. So the line between what is human and what is animal becomes even more blurred. And that, I think, might also explain why people become a little more supposedly erratic around full moons. People also act differently when the seasons change. So there's a lot of things to consider here. This is just my opening monologue, some things to think about, some ideas that you may not have heard before. Let's bring Mike D onto the show. Mike, if you haven't fallen asleep from my ramblings, if you're with us, please say something, sir.
I'm alive. I'm alive and listening.
Okay, I thought you might have got so angry I was taking time, you transformed into a werewolf and destroyed your computer. Glad to know you're okay.
No. Several good points there. I listened. The folklore is definitely there, and how people perceive different things too is interesting. So yeah, let's get into it. I first heard of Mr. Dogman when we were kind of doing research for our show, and the Beast of Bray Road came up. That corresponds to Linda, and that she was a reporter for a small-time newspaper out in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. And her editor said, hey, I want you to go out and interview some witnesses. We've got some stories of they're seeing a wolf-like creature on the side of the road, and some woman said that she hit something, and some other person they saw some giant wolf like eating something on the side of the road. So she's like, Linda was kind of bummed out because she was kind of a legit news reporter, and she didn't really even want to cover the story because she thought it was ridiculous. So she went out, she did what she was told, right? She went out and interviewed a bunch of witnesses, and the more that she interviewed people, and she said she had a good knack of character, she realized that these people weren't lying. They saw something on the side of the road there in Wisconsin. Yeah, that's one of the sketches there that you've got of a witness that saw the quote-unquote Dogman eating something on the side of the road.
And this is her article here, Linda Godfrey.
So Linda became kind of almost obsessed with the topic after kind of like the interest became, grand. And she really started to research this creature from accounts, not just in Wisconsin, but all over the United States. And a lot of these people were seeing something, for the most part, standing about 6 feet to 7 feet tall. Sometimes witnesses 8 to 9 to 10 feet tall, with a humanoid body covered in fur, with a head resembling a wolf or like a German shepherd. With usually they see these creatures at night, right? So you got red or amber or orange eyes, and then the witnesses see it using all 4 legs or standing on 2 legs. And in this area, actually, doing the research, that's not the first time in the 80s and 90s. That actually, and these stories started to come up in the 80s and 90s with Linda in the 90s. But back in 1936, there was a sighting of some type of creature standing on a Indian burial mound out in Jefferson County, out in Wisconsin, I believe. And this was in 1936 was the eyewitness account. I think a priest gave an eyewitness account of seeing something on an Indian burial ground. Because the church was, of course, located on it or around it, and the reason for that. And then, of course, in the 80s, there were several witnesses that the Dogman or whatever made contact with the vehicle and left scratch marks and actually evidence on the vehicle of scratches. Kind of going with you went into, that this is not a new thing, even though a lot of people are learning about it now. There's engravings back in the 1600s in Germany showing a bipedal werewolf. And in the 18th century, there was engravings of werewolf-like creatures. So this has been around for a long time.
Yeah, and to some extent, it definitely has to do with the way that humans are animals, as Antonio in the chat says, but also that humans can transform into animals in a very, in a psychological way, where you become so vicious and animalistic and unable to control your emotions that you turn into, essentially an animal. And I believe that today this is referred, and even maybe 100 years ago, this is referred to as lycanthropy. And this is considered like a clinical diagnosis for someone who's just someone who ripped off all their clothes and ran down the street and started howling at the moon. I don't know, drugs might do that to people today, but in the old world, it might have been something else that induced the hysteria. That's not the only story, though. That's just the point is that's just one of the stories. And for anybody with any of these subjects, for anybody who says that there's one explanation, well, there isn't. There's more than one explanation. It's not just hypertrichosis or porphyria. It's not just like a state of psychosis. There's lots of different reasons why these stories are, as you said, Mike, are very old, hundreds of years old, if not thousands and thousands of years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the picture that you had before up there was a sketch that's in 1990. Mike Eaton was driving along Bray Road late at night, and he observed a creature way bigger than a wolf sitting like a raccoon eating something in his forepaws. So that's kind of the picture you had up there. Another high school student.
I'm sorry, I'll
Yes.
bring it here again with I have some other photos, these old 1600 photos that you referred to. I'm going to put
Yes.
a file and show them.
Yes, please do. Another high school student, Tom Tat, is credited with 2 1992 sightings of a humanoid-type creature partially colliding with his car, making reference of a dog-like head and describing how the animal was seen standing on its back 2 legs about 6-7 feet tall.
The werewolf or the Dogman, do you think that these are, someone in the chat had asked or had referenced this, that this is basically the same thing since they're both basically canines? Or is this a set of 2 separate phenomena?
I couldn't tell you, really. I mean, the case is so open, and the misinformation is so dense that it's hard to get a handle on the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Other than what you just said, that the phenomenon has been around for ages, right? So it makes me think that there's something there, right?
Yes. What it is, we don't know, but yes, there's something there.
Now, I mean, the theories abound. Could this be like some type of genetic experience go wrong? Are these actually creatures that evolved from wolves that have picked up the ability to walk on their hind legs, have human-like intelligence, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, you're a dog person. Are you? I don't think your dog's ever done it, but I'm sure you're aware that dogs do sometimes get up on their hind legs. Correct?
Very true. Very true.
And if you were to see a large canine do that out in the wild, you might, and just get a glimpse of it, you might think, "Oh my God, the Dogman!"
Yes, very, very. A lot of these sightings could be a general wolf, right?
Just get a glimpse of that in the woods. It might be pretty scary. It depends on if you're looking for it too. I mean, if you're looking for it and you're frightened by these things, I mean, there's people that go squatching, Mike. You know what squatching is?
Yes.
And there's people that go dogging too. They go look for dogmen. If you're looking for that, it's like a ghost show. You're going to find it.
Right. Yeah, your intention is there. So you're actually casting spells on yourself.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Here's some woodcuts from what you were referencing. This is the werewolf. This is 1510, London British Museum. There you have the werewolf. Now, this one looks like more human, carrying off a child. Maybe has killed some people. Obviously, if you're listening an audio version of the show, you can't see this. You could look up Lucas the Elder werewolf, and you should be able to find this 1510 woodcut. I mean, yeah, definitely wolf-like, but more so very, very human. So maybe this particular one describes a person who has lost their mind, murdered some people. Again, vampires are typically described as, suckers of blood, and that's how werewolves traditionally are described as well. So there's a similarity between the two. Some might just be, we think vampires are like goths, people walking around in gothic clothing or something like that. But a vampire is also just like a wild man that lives in the woods too, or in a cave. So there's a similarity between that and the werewolf. So this is a werewolf in this particular image, but it's also vampiric as well. Here's another one. This is 1563. Zoom in here so you can see it. This is more of a human with a wolf head.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit different.
It's like it's got a superhero cape on too.
Yes, it's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Wolfman. Here's another one from 1616. This is in the what is this? The Velcombe Library in London. It is from Nicholas van Gilkerken after Clover and Philip Clover. And this is almost like, I don't know how you describe that. This reminds me of the movie The Norsemen, where these big Nordic guys get all amped up and go destroy the village. They act like wolves. They're not actually wolves.
I think they have to. I think they need to do a better job of covering their lower torsos up.
Yeah, there's some penis there, small penis there.
It's got probably cold out when that engraving took place.
They need a dick towel. I hope people know what dick towel is. But
that's a good point that you made. It's the animal skins to harness the power of that animal, right?
Yeah. That's right. Or leopard skins. You were leopard skin, or
lions, bears, what have you.
Yeah, the priests in the Americas, throughout all the Americas, North, Central, and South America, priests in Africa, whatever animal was close by, jaguars or leopards or lions or tigers, they'd wear the garb. Yes, they would kill it, and they would wear the fur and the skin because they believed it conveyed the power of that animal. And in the same way that, why does a vampire drink blood? Because blood carries the life force. And if you drink the life force, you obtain the life of that thing that you consume, which is also scientifically proven, as I've shown on the show, because you have Harvard and Stanford that have shown that the blood of young mice will rejuvenate the organs of old mice. Have you ever seen those studies?
Yeah, I've actually seen articles of very wealthy people paying for blood of young people to be transfused into their body. That's a big business in Hollywood too.
Yeah, it's become popular, and then it's also become controversial. So I think that a lot of it's kind of gone, let's say, underground. It's not discussed as much, but it is definitely Peter Thiel is obsessed with it, reportedly. He wants to live forever, so he's obsessed with paying young people to get access to some of their blood. I guess if you have all that money and power, you don't have anything else to. You're not taking diet pills from the 7-Eleven. You're paying people for their blood. Elizabeth Bathory, same exact thing. She had those young women killed so that she could bathe in their blood. And why did she do that? She believed that it would rejuvenate her body. And it turns out, as I'm going to show you right now on the screen, it turns out these people maybe weren't as crazy as we thought. Here's Stanford, young blood renews old mice. Here's Harvard, extending lives of old mice by connecting vessels to young ones. So Bathory might have been psychotic, but she was also right. And the people like Vlad the Impaler that drank blood, part of his story led to Dracula's story. I mean, it's supposed to be able to do this. I mean, it's probably not like you don't just kill someone and drink their blood. There's a specific way to do it. Like with cannibalism, there's certain parts of the body you can eat and not develop what do they call that, kuru or mad cow disease. It's a cow version of it. But it is a thing that's scientifically proven that actually works. That's kind of disturbing and crazy. Have you ever seen this, Mike? I don't know if you can see these articles.
Yes.
Young blood renews old mice, if you want to look it up, and extending lives of old mice by connecting vessels to young ones. That's Harvard Gazette. And then here's another picture of the werewolf. This is kind of more, I don't know. This is like an actual wolf just biting somebody, though. Which I think
that or some type of dog.
Yeah, some type of canine. And I think that also transfers, like vampirism, it also transfers the werewolf disease if you get bit by a werewolf and not killed. It's very similar to the vampire. But anyway, those are proofs that you were referencing, so I wanted to show them.
Yeah. I think we're going to segment into the first story. You can put your David Wilcock glasses on and believe what you want, but I'm going to have a little fun with this, and we're going to get into one of the famous sightings here of Mr. Dogman, because there was more than one. And that was an incident that happened in Maine, Palmyra, Maine, actually. Eric and Shelley Martin. And I'm going to break down the story, and then we're going to watch a little video that was on one of these paranormal shows. So it's going to be a little over exaggerated, but you're going to see the witness speak on camera. So anyway, there was this couple that were actually, the guy, Eric Martin, hurt his back, right? So they had to actually move because to somewhere cheaper. And so they started to, they rented a farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere because it was cheap in Maine, like I said, Palmyra, Maine. And they would have this instance where they go on their porch every night and kind of just chill out at night. But here's an interesting part of the story, though. Eric was an avid gun collector, guns. His wife hated guns. So when they moved to this new when they were renting this farmhouse at Maine, she made him put his guns locked up in like a side house, which is kind of ridiculous if you ask me, because why would you have guns and not be able to use them in a safe and timely manner? You know, if something happened in the house, this guy's got to go run out to the shed, to the extra barn, open up a box and get the gun out. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I've heard those. There's some places where you have to keep the bullets separate from the gun. So you got the gun in the safe, the bullets in the safe.
It's not going to do it.
Someone's breaking in. Hold on a second. I got it. Well, what's the combination for this?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me grab a rack here. Rack this up. I got to take the safety. All right. Hold on for a second.
Yeah. And then, yeah, exactly.
While they're stabbing you. You
have that little safety thing that you have to unscrew or unlock from the
while the dog man is biting your leg off. Man, yeah. I should have put ammo in that gun. Anyway.
Well, that's just stupidity.
Anyway, one of the nights that they were on the porch, they actually saw lights in the woods, and they thought it was actually hunters, and it's private property, so they went out to investigate because they shouldn't be on the land, and they shouldn't be hunting on the land. And so they were seeing these bright lights shine everywhere, and they went out there and kind of looked around, saw nothing. But the next morning, out in the field by their house, they found a giant kind of den with sticks around it, which they thought, okay, that's kind of confusing. And they thought maybe it's just like some animal, making a home, right? It was no big deal.
Yes.
So again, nothing happened.
A Yeti nest, a Bigfoot nest.
Yeah, or some whatever, a beaver nest.
Yeah. Well, it depends on it's your perception. If you want to make some money off that going coast to coast, it's a fucking Yeti nest.
Yeah, it's a Yeti nest. So they didn't think much of it because they, again, didn't think they were werewolves or dogmen out there. That was probably the last thing from their minds. So again, they're on their porch, and this time they see the lights again, dimmer, but they hear rustling. So now they're hearing stuff. So one of them gets a flashlight, shines it out in the super, high power flashlight, shines it out there, and they see 3 sets of eyes. So they thought, okay, maybe these are just wolves or whatever. So they weren't too alarmed until one of them stood up, and they said that they could tell with the flashlight that was 7 feet tall, had like light brown, dark brown, pointy ears like a German Shepherd. And then they saw 2 more. So at this time, they get a little worried because they're thinking maybe, a pack of wolves, getting this close to the house is kind of unusual, right? So they go inside. They close all the windows because now they're getting a little tripped out. And they're inside for a little bit. And Eric, they're hearing like these things get closer. So Eric wants to go get the guns out of the shed, just in case he needs them.
That process will take about 30 minutes, so you got to start that early just in case.
Yeah. So he's about 25 feet away to go get the guns. But at first he wanted because of these creatures they saw were getting closer to the house, they were so tripped out. He wanted just to back the car up to the front door and just leave, right? So he was thinking he'd do that. So he went to go get the car, and they've got motion sensor lights around the house and the car. So when he stepped out there, of course the lights came on, and then he could see that these things he could see the eyes right around him, kind of circling them. So now I think there's like 7 and 8 of them like circling him. So he gets scared. He runs back to the house. This guy has a bad back, so he's kind of hobbling back to the house. They call now. This is a smart point, right? You think, okay, let me call 911 because this is a little weird, right? I go outside, and these things are basically circling around him. So he calls 911, and the police actually connect him to the game warden because they thought it was a werewolf. And they said, hey, just go inside, lock your doors. We'll come out in the morning to check on you. And there's just like, I think there might be something else. And they basically it's just hung up on. So again, another reason why to protect yourself, because, if this was bad and these things were, super violent, and he didn't have his guns, they could have been ripped to shreds with the police doing absolutely nothing. So it's kind of like an in-case scenario just to protect yourself because no one's going to do it for you.
Yeah, just generally speaking, you're right.
Yeah. So he's thinking to himself, okay, when he went to go get the car and he saw these things, they wouldn't step into the light for some reason, right? So that's what he's thinking. He's like, these things won't step in the light for whatever reason. Maybe I can go get the guns, right? So he's like, I'm going to try again. And his wife's like, are you crazy? He's like, no, we got to get the guns. So he goes
Those
out.
are dangerous, honey. That's why we locked them up. They're dangerous. Idiot.
Yeah. I would have been livid at the wife. Are you kidding me? I wonder if she in the future now she lets the guns in the house. I don't know. Maybe. But he goes out.
I would tell the story of my experience. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So maybe with the light, he can keep the light sensors going and run to the barn, get the guns, wave his hands around. He tries to do that, but he knows he really can. He runs back into the house. So the rest of the night, they lock themselves up. They go into a room where there's windows, but it's kind of like they got these kind of shades over the window that are not super thick, so they can see these things kind of running around on their porch, and they can hear them. And they're hearing them also jump on the roof, and they're hearing them like communicate with each other, like with grunts and growls. Almost that's what that's what he said. He thought there was almost like some sort of communication between this pack of animals, whatever it was. So they just nothing really happens other than they're hearing scratches on the wall, but nothing really goes in the house or jumps through the window, which the windows weren't really that thick. So they're thinking that these things probably could get in the house if they wanted to. They never did. So they made it through the morning. Then this morning they go out, they see tracks, and that's about it. So I'll get your feelings on what I just said, and let me load up the little clip here of
Sure thing.
Yeah,
let's do it.
And I'll share my screen. But do you have any comments on what I kind of just the story there?
Well, the stupidity of the gun thing is making me think, but that's not really the relevant part.
I know that you know what? The same thing when I first saw the story, that's what all was going through my mind too. It's like, where are you, idiot? You're on a farmhouse, super secluded in the woods, which is kind of scary enough, right? When you think about it.
It's scary.
And you're keeping your guns locked up in a separate, garage, not in the house.
Hey, we'll just reference It's Always Sunny again. It's one of the first episodes of the whole series when they were getting robbed. So they bought a gun, and the Dee was really upset because she's like, they're dangerous. And as soon as she saw the person break in, she shoot him in the head. That's pretty much how women do it, I think. No offense to women that are like 2A, but I think that's how women do it. Those are so dangerous. And then you hear a window break. Shoot him. Don't even check. Just shoot him. Just empty the clip. I had a girlfriend who did that one time. She said, why you got to keep the gun next to the bed? And then one bump in the night. Same exact response.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Let me.
Anyway, I do have a.
Go ahead. Sorry,
I do have a question. I do have a question. Linda Godfrey talked about this too, and I don't know because I'm not a dog person. I don't know much about dogs. I know you're a dog person, so you might be able to answer this. Is there a difference between dogmen or wolfmen even with in terms of the types of eyes. So there's like yellow eyes, and then there's like red eyes that are reported. Red eyes are different, right? That's not necessarily a dogman. Dogman eyes are yellow. Am I right about that? Am I wrong? Or help me out there.
They're saying that the dogman have been identified with red eyes, amber being like yellowish, orange, and red. We actually have a second video that I'll load up that this guy breaks down the different types of dogman that witnesses have come forth. There's like 7 of them.
Yes.
So we'll get into that. But the eye thing is red for sure. I've seen many witnesses' accounts of that. And then the yellowish amber eyes.
If there's 7 of them, that also makes me think of like the 7 sacred sages in different cultures that could transform matter, that could manifest food, and that could transform into animals. That's kind of interesting. I never thought about that. I didn't even know there were 7 types of dogmen. I don't know if that's like a solidified canon thing in the dogman mythos, but if that is true, that's interesting because from India, I say India to the west and east of India, you have the same idea of 7 divine like priests, or there's different names for them.
Yeah.
That can transform into animals. That's interesting.
It is very bizarre because once we show that video, this guy's got, I believe it's 7. But we'll find out when we watch it. But the various types it's strange because you have some that are scraggly, skinny. You've got some that look like professional bodybuilders that are that huge and big. You've got the Anubis looking ones with the Anubis head. Actually, Linda in her book broke down a sighting of an Anubis one by a military base by a ex-military soldier that was stationed at the base.
That's the one I referenced. He saw that in his room, right? He saw Anubis.
No, he saw that actually on patrol.
Also, there's 2 Anubis stories because the one I remember was the dog was in his room. It was actually Anubis with the Egyptian look and everything.
Yes, that I believe that's one also. But the one at the military base, he saw that while on patrol of the woods in this military base. I believe I think it was West Virginia where the military base. I'm not too sure, but anyway, let's watch this video and get people's reaction. Now, granted, things are going to be hyped up because, of course, it's a TV series.
It doesn't take away from the 10% that is a legitimate experience, and seeing multiple sets of eyes surrounding you is a little bit different than just seeing something random in the woods, like a wolf or a dog that stands on 2 legs and kind of glimpse of it.
And I did research that family, and they made no money. They went on maybe 1 or 2 shows, but there's no book written about the experience. They actually stayed there for another couple weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then they moved. They got out of there.
Well, you also, which that's probably a good idea. You also have to think about, I mean, I thought about this myself. Like if I have a radio show, I've done this for a long time. I've got a lot of contacts in the so-called radio industry, and I've never really had many experiences as an adult, but I saw a very large black triangular UFO over here in Japan last year. It was massive. It was silent. It definitely wasn't a commercial airliner or a military craft. And I did a show where I talked about it. Nobody was interested. Nobody emailed me. Can you come on Coast to Coast, tell your story? A lot of this stuff is you have to go to the media. You have to really push it. You have to sell the idea. So a lot of these stories that we hear, whether it's a dogman, a Bigfoot, a UFO, it's because people went out of their way to make a big deal about it because they want attention. Most of the real stories are people that don't have any intention to do that. That's just my assessment.
Right. True. Let me take a break here for a second.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. All right. For those of you just joining us, this is TST Radio. This is The Secret Teachings. A lot of you are, of course, listening on the video feed, but we are an audio show most of the time, Monday through Friday, audio form only. So if you are listening in audio form, you are missing the visuals tonight. And if you're listening in video and watching in video form, you're going to miss probably what I would consider to be the essence of the secret teachings, and that is just it's an audio experience. It's not really meant to be a video experience. It's meant to be audio only. So you can always go and download the show after it airs in the free archive, or if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, to get access to the ad-free show, you can become one today. It's very simple. It's actually very cheap too. The links are all below the show description on whatever platform you're listening. And don't take this show for granted. We don't have advertisers. We don't have sponsors. We don't even take money on YouTube. And it takes a lot of time and effort to put shows together. So subscribers and listening to the free archive are the two main ways that you can support us. You can also buy me a coffee. The link is below, as I said. You can support us via Cash App. The link is below, as I said. We've been kicked off of pretty much everything else. And you can also promote the show on social media. We have a lot of listeners that do that totally free. Just share the link or something like that would help us out. Otherwise, the show is, of course, throttled back, and there are lots of platforms that we have been removed from or shadow banned from. It's kind of hard to have a free market of ideas when the free market of ideas is controlled by like 5 or 6 people that draw on all the attention because of money and because largely fabricated stories and sensationalism, like you just saw in that video, take away from legitimate stories. And it's more so sad, I think, than it is even frustrating. I
think even if to the witness, it's true, the events are true, you're going to get a distortion by, the television company to hype it up.
Too,
right?
yeah.
So
can you tell us about what remember Mike Lebecki we had discussed before the show started tonight? We had Mike Lebecki on the show. Can you just very quickly tell that story?
Yes, that was a Yeti that attacked a group of campers out in Russia. I forget the name of Path or something. The name of the incident is pretty well known, where the campers were ripped up, the tents were ripped up, their bodies were mutilated, their eyeballs hollowed out. Remember one found up in the tree?
Are you talking about Dyatlov Pass?
Yes. So that's what he was covering. And he actually didn't get to see the final cut until it was actually on TV. And one day he's watching TV and it came on, and he saw a lot of facts and things that were in this documentary that he did not state when they were making it, because he was making the documentary with, I believe, with the Discovery Channel. Yes. And so they added a bunch of shit in that he had no idea. It was totally fake and not true.
I believe that included the sound of the Yeti.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff. I don't remember, but there was a bunch of stuff that was added that was not true.
Oh my goodness, Mike! I actually just found it. I'm not going to play it or anything like that, but I found it on the Discovery Channel website.
Oh my gosh!
I'll share it here. Russian Yeti, the killer lives. And it turns out the Discovery Channel just he didn't talk bad about the Discovery Channel, but they fabricated all the evidence. They made the nest. They made up the audio. That's how most of it goes.
Yeah, he was pretty angry because it distorted the truth. So then hence you get another layer of distortion of these channels. I think some of them really try to get the facts right, but again, you're getting the distortion of just to hype it up, and of course it's supposed to scare you, right?
Keep you watching.
The guy went out twice with these things. Was he really that scared? I mean, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but walking out there with a limp, surrounded by 70 of these creatures, I mean, that kind of takes some balls to do that. Why would you even go back out again after the first instance? But,
I mean, consider being married to that Shelley girl. I don't know if he does have balls, but maybe he I don't know. Self-preservation.
All right, let me load up this other video. We'll go through a little bit because I think this guy kind of drags on a little bit, but I'll see if I can fast forward. I already went into it's 7 minutes long, but we're at the 4-minute mark here. He kind of describes the different types of Dogman. So let me load this up here.
You can share your screen again for us.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take down mine so you can do yours easier. You are listening to the Dogman Show tonight on the Secret Teachings. Thank you for joining us. I did not forget about you in the chat. If you're in the chat, I haven't mentioned your name yet. We did that in the pre-show. I know we have a lot of newer listeners tuning in right now.
So there you go, Ryan. There's your Anubis one.
Anubis.
And it's actually we're right, 7 types. So let's see what this guy says.
Anubis in the Egyptian lore. It was a god of the underworld, I believe, and it had a jackal-like head and a human-like body, and attributed a lot of powers and things that wouldn't be normally associated with an animal. And then all over Europe, you have stories of werewolves and men transforming into these giant beasts, and also the story of vampires seemed to be linked to them as well. And then
there you go, Ryan.
There we go. Yep. See, I do know what I'm talking about.
That's pretty funny that he even mentioned vampires with this.
Battles that these species have. And you always have stories in Eastern Europe and all over the world of small villages being raided by packs of these dogmen and werewolves, and people disappearing in the night, and blood-curdling howls, too big to be wolves. And, whether this is based off of dogman sightings or wolf packs or something in the middle, you can kind of see how Bigfoot gets portrayed as the wild man of the woods or the wild woman of the woods. You can see how packs of wolves and packs of dogmen could be misconstrued, especially if a man goes missing at night and then one of these dogmen shows up and takes other people. You could totally see how they could be misconstrued as a werewolf or transforming into them, especially if the person comes back the next day. Now, I don't think dogmen as we know it in North America transforms. They might, I don't know. But I like to think of these things as an upright walking canine species that runs around and competes with Bigfoot, and they run in packs. They have alphas. There's stories of them being big packs, 20 or 30 of them, even more, quite large family groups. So when it comes down to it, there's a lot of people seeing these things. There's historical significance. There's a lot more here than I'm covering historically. So people are really seeing something. And I was aware that there were different types, ones that look more like an upright, just like a dog standing up. And then there's ones that look huge across the chest with narrow waist. So let's jump into it and take a look at the different types. One of the things that separates these two into categories with 7 different types of them is the first category has a more man-like leg with a plantigrade, with a flat foot on the ground, and a normal length foot and a knee. And then the second type has more of the extended forepaw with a digigrade type, with the knee protruding out front and the back acting like a second hinge. Now, the first human type one you will see is tall, lean with a strong baboon type. The second one is more with like a chow-like head, where the snout doesn't come out as far, but has big, strong, powerful teeth. And then the other one you see that look more like a Sasquatch with a muzzle, like the Beast of 7 Shoots. Now, I think these are all different varieties of what some people refer to as a Gugwe or a Type 3 Bigfoot. Now, I know with the different types of Bigfoot, people put them in different orders, and it doesn't really matter as long as they're all included in there. And these may be even juvenile species and subspecies of others, or offshoots, just kind of like how people can look radically different. So I think these might be all different variants of what we would refer to as a Gugwe in different points. Now, the second group of dogmen people are seeing are the more canine-like, where they have that dog-like leg with the extended forepaw. The first type is the type 1. It looks more like a standing timber wolf. They don't have a huge broad shoulders, but they're like an upright walking dog, very unnatural. The second type is more like an upright standing hyena, a little bit bigger shoulders, terrible, more round ears, and big nasty fangs. Hyenas are nasty animals. I can't even imagine putting it into like a dog-like form. And the third type I think is kind of your quintessential with the really pointy ears, the very broad shoulders, a very strong body, and a narrow waist. These are kind of what you think of the real demonic, although I think they're all pretty evil. And then there's the type 4 people talk about, the extremely large head, more of a soldier type, but maybe not quite as big a body. Now here's a famous photo of a car backing up, and you can see the dogman in there.
I got to stop this because that photo is, he says it later, but that's actually a fake photo. This photo here
looks like a bear to me.
Reportedly in a rearview mirror. or bear man as they're referred to. And this is, I think that's a good example of what a classic Dogman might possibly look like, one of the varieties. And then you can see here's a picture of the Beast of Seven Shoots. I think this is more of like your human Sasquatch-like variety.
Now, this photo here, I did a little research on, the Beast of Seven Shoots. And this guy was out taking photographs of the forest area for some type of book he was writing on, and didn't notice this creature until after he got home and looked at the photographs. This has been, the photograph has been sent through forensics, and no one's been able to debunk this photo yet. So I'm not saying it's real, not saying it's true. I'm just saying that there hasn't been, like the last picture was definitely debunked a long time ago, but this picture has yet to be proven fake in any way. But
this is a pretty good example. Now, these photos, I know the Seven Shoots photo pretty well, and I know that's real, but the backup one there in the light camera, if that's fake, whatever. But
yeah, so he just says that the one previous was fake, and this one has not been proven a fake yet.
Anyway, it's a good representation of what we're talking about, of the dog-like in the first photo and the more Sasquatch-like in the second photo. So this is pretty much it. There's different types of Dogmen. So if you hear encounters of it look like a couple just regular dog, German Shepherd wolves standing up, or if you hear it looked 14 feet high with super broad shoulders and a super narrow waist but had a dog-like leg, people are reporting all those. To me, all this stuff's very fascinating, very terrifying at the same time. Don't think too much about it. It'll keep you up at night.
All right. Stop sharing that.
It appears the one question in the chat room is why they're all ripped. I mean, if you ran around all the time and climbed trees, and I guess you'd probably get pretty ripped too. Maybe people want to go on the Dogman diet. We should start that.
Yeah, well, there's definitely some type of them that is huge, like that kind of bodybuilding type huge werewolf. From also doing research on this, eyewitnesses were asked, out of all the TV shows and movies, which movie do you think really kind of portrayed what you saw as the Dogman? And a lot of people said Underworld. I don't know if you remember that, with the vampires versus the lichens. They said that what they saw kind of resembled the Underworld werewolf or whatever.
So that would be your Cerberus, your Anubis, your Garmir, your Supay, all the different characters of the underworld I mentioned earlier.
I think also with that photo that we just saw, the Seven Shoots type of creature, that it was one of the, finally, like one that's not super blurry, right? I mean, it's a little blurry, but you can make out kind of like the features of it a lot more than a lot of these other pictures that we've seen on the net. And again, that it looks like it's carrying maybe some type of creature in its arms too. It's kind of disturbing,
A lot of this also could be, I mean, let's just be very, very candid. A lot of us, myself included, we're not very knowledgeable about what goes on in the woods. Most people probably would not survive a night in the woods without a tent and toilet paper. So if you're going out in the woods and you're taking pictures and you see something, chances are it's probably not mystical. It's probably not some fantastical thing. It's just that it's something you've never seen before. It's kind of like with Three-Eye Atlas. We've never seen this before. There's a lot of things we haven't seen before. That doesn't mean it's an alien spaceship. Just to be objective about it, I think that could be part of the thing too that we're dealing with here, is that people have never seen something. You hear rumors about something. It's kind of the reason that hysteria like this, or if it's not hysteria, just interest like this has been around for hundreds of thousands of years. If you have someone in a village somewhere who's acting strange, and then you have a kid or an animal that goes missing, and just like with witches, were looked at for having witch marks, and they would identify moles. Like if a woman had a mole on her neck, that was a sign of her pact with the devil. And maybe some guy in a village was acting strange. Maybe he was sick. Maybe he wasn't actually a a kidnapper or wasn't a thief, but people started to get suspicious, and then they hold him down, and oh my God, he's got, you know, a wound on his leg, and we think that the creature we saw, we also thought we hit him in the leg with a stick last night, or with an axe, or with something. We think this guy's the wolf, and then they kill him because he's a wolf man. I mean, that kind of hysteria is present in the modern day. So I think that that is just another consideration. Is it, maybe hysteria is not the right word, but the way that we tend to act in a collective, where you show a picture like that, and I'm not saying it is or isn't anything. I'm just saying that people see that, and the reaction is based on, it's how you ask the question too. Like, is this a real photo or a fake photo? Well, it could be real, but that doesn't mean it's a quote dog man. And a dog man is defined by different people as different things anyway. So like, if it is a real picture and it is a dog man, well, what kind of dog man? Because there's different types. So I'm just saying that there's always another layer. There's always another way to look at this stuff. And I think we have to, if we want to be serious and objective about anything, we have to really hammer that home with every issue and every layer of every issue. That's just my assessment. I think that's important to say, Mike. Please go ahead. Mike, are you still there?
I was muted here.
Sorry, I ramble and then Mike mutes and just goes and takes a nap.
Actually, I want to go get my gun.
Well, yeah, I hope you didn't have it locked in the garage. Well, let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me ask you something. So do you, if you don't, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know much about the 7 sages of India or any other part of the world, that mythos of the 7 sages or 7 divine teachers?
More so the number 7 that have been used in occult numerology, but no, not what you said.
Just a few quick numbers here, a few quick groups. There are 7 sages of ancient Greece. They're in Mesopotamian mythology. They're called the 7 Apkallu, which are these bird-like, human-like creatures that carry bags and or carry what look like pine cones. There's, of course, the 7 patriarchs or elders in the Abrahamic traditions. There's the 7 immortals in Taoist philosophy. There's the 7 rishis of India. There's the 7 muses in Zoroastrian mythology. So this is a very common theme. And all of these 7 deities or 7 semi-divine, whatever they are, human gods, concepts, they all have the ability to transform into other creatures. So the fact that there are considered 7 classifications of dogmen, and the fact that they come in different forms, and when you read about the 7 rishis in India, they each have their own name, and they all also come in different forms. So that is very, I did not know that, but that is very fascinating, that the 7 dogmen types match up with the 7 rishis, the 7 various sages or Apkallu or patriarchs, etc. I think that's fascinating. Did you know that? I did not know that.
I did not know that. And the but from the 7 that he said, I've heard of most of what he was describing, except the hyena one. I never, from our research, I haven't seen that one. But yeah, I think he's got the 7 that most people see. I don't think there's any other ones out there. Could be, I don't know, but it seems like 7 is a magic number.
Yep, and so it relates to those 7 magical wisdom keepers or whatever they are.
Let's roll to another sighting, another witness testimony. I believe this is the testimony of a guy who works for a city that cleans up roadkill, I guess is his job, and he had a sighting. So let me load up the video here and play that.
A serious question: was it dead or like was
oh
it
no? Well, I believe he picked up a deer that was dead, and then he heard something jump on the back of his truck. And let's let him tell the story, right? Let me load it up here.
Okay. By the way, while you're loading that up, I'm going to quote Montague Summers here in his Werewolf in Lore and Legend book. He says there's a whole list of different countries where people transform into different things. He says, I'll read you the exact quote here. In Abyssinia and in the Egyptian Sudan, the wizards are credited with the power of becoming hyenas at will. So this is what you said about the hyena. This is a very, very old concept. People were transforming into hyenas.
Yes, interesting. I didn't know that.
There's a whole bunch of other ones here too I could list. Well, there's also, I should mention this, the goddess Freya had something called I guess you could call it like a bird cloak or a falcon cloak. The Valkyries also had cloaks, animal cloaks, or maybe bird cloaks, which goes back to that picture we showed where these men had these wolf furs on. So both human and even in the mythological stories, the myths and legends of the world, even the gods would don the heads of animals, probably because they represented that quality or that aspect of nature, but just an interesting piece of history. You load it up?
Yes, here we go. I'm going to hit play here.
Okay, I have to share it first. Go
Are
ahead.
you shared?
Yep, we're in the theater here.
That puts Steve Kruger on the front lines of the hunting zone. After college, he got a job working sanitation, clearing Wisconsin roads of deer and roadkill.
I've spent a lot of time in the woods and seen a lot of crazy things. This beats all of it by a long shot. Back in 2006, I was contracted to pick up the dead deer carcasses along the roadways throughout the state. There was no precipitation. It was just a really nice, cool evening. I was driving and I came across a small deer carcass. It was a small 80-pound doe, so I threw down the tailgate, picked up the deer and tossed it into the back on top of the ATV ramp. And I hopped back into my cab, got the clipboard out and started filling out the paperwork.
What had been a quiet night was about to receive a jolt.
At first, when the truck shook, I thought it was the wind. So I ignored it the first time, started filling out the paperwork again.
When the truck rocked again, it couldn't be ignored.
It really felt like something heavy got into the back end of the truck. And that's where I saw the creature. The whole entire creature was about 7 feet tall, looked like basically a large wolf head on top of a bear's body. This was not a bear.
Then, it made a move toward the front of the truck.
It scared the dickens out of me. I became panicked and I realized I just needed to get out of there. It came down to a choice of fight or flight, and I chose the flight. My truck was still running, so all I had to do was throw it in the drive and hit the gas. As I did pull away, I heard a metal clank hit the road.
He didn't wait to see what it was. He didn't dare look back.
Yeah, the guitar part there.
I thought that guy was perfect to see a Dogman. You deal with dead animals for a living. You're bound to meet the demon of the crossroads at some point.
It scared the dickens out of me. I mean, who am I to say he's lying or he's not lying? I mean, it's like you said, it's a credible story. It kind of makes sense, right? That he's picking up deer carcass and this thing jumped in to take the deer. It's food.
Yeah, especially because in the Norse mythology, the goddess of the underworld, Hel, she was guarded and protected by a black dog. Well, Hecate was too, the black god of the crossroads. So if you're literally at crossroads picking up dead animals, which are left there, by some, well, that's not why he's picking them up. People hit animals and deer on the road, but people leave animal carcasses at the crossroads for rituals to summon the devil. And those devils are guarded by black dogs. I mean, that really fits the mold.
True. I mean, the thing is that's confusing though is this thing has kind of a spiritual aspect too of it.
It's like
So
Bigfoot.
yeah, kind of like you said before of the Native American tribes and the shape shifting into these things. And then also, there was a guy that has a ranch over in Wisconsin where he was seeing these things, and he, of course, is smart, and he set up a bunch of trail cams, and he saw got a glimpse of one on the trail cam, and then it kind of almost dissipated into a mist, as the recording shows. And he's got the recording. I saw the recording, so it was physical. It looked like physical. Then it kind of just fogged out, which is interesting.
So it almost became etheric or
Yes.
ghost apparition like. Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, who's to say? I don't know. All I can say is that, you know, a lot of people have seen these things. A lot of hunters, the mythology and the folklore is there. What they actually are, what they actually, you know, want is again a question mark. I can't speak on it. You know,
Yes.
I'm not a Jimmy Church. I'm not going to say what these things are indefinitely because I do not know.
Well, that's an easy way to make money, though, Mike. It's
Yeah.
really easy to make money.
Yeah. I can make up. I saw one 2 weeks ago.
It'd be
Like,
easy too. It'd be easy to make.
Like a person in the chat said, he's been out in the woods for years and years. He's never seen one. Which, you know,
I've also never seen. I mean, a lot of people never seen a lot of animals. I talked to Linda Godfrey about flamingos, and when the Europeans went back to Europe and said, "Hey, we found these tall birds that are pink," the Europeans thought that they made it up. The Spanish people thought that's fake. You didn't see a bird like that.
Right. Oh yeah. When the Spanish brought over horses too, that the natives were confused. They never saw horses either.
That's what happens when if you apply that idea to the modern world, that kind of thing is what happens today too. When you show people, I mean, pictures of storms or videos of storms. Oh, this can't be natural. You've never seen one before. It's natural. There are hurricanes in Florida. No, they're all man-made by lasers. No, there's just hurricanes. Yeah, they can engineer them, they can move them, but hurricanes also just naturally happen too. Whatever.
I've been through hurricanes, and they are intense and scary. Because you live your you know your normal days going through normal weather patterns, and when something like a hurricane strikes, that's a huge one, and you see your giant oak tree is almost ready to split in half. It's a sight to be seen. That and unless you're there, you can't comprehend it.
Yep, and nothing happens naturally, even just basic standard weather. You know, if there's fog, that's a weather control device. I mean, this is not about weather tonight, the show, of course, but this applies to these stories of dogmen or werewolves or vampires or monsters too, because there's more than one way to look at this stuff, and it usually gets presented in a very rigid way, including by the JCs, most of those network TV shows, as well as we've talked about and shown. 90% dramatization, 10% true. Or they'll ask you, I mean, my goodness, I've done radio long enough. I know people will have experiences. They'll go on shows and they'll be asked to not be afraid to elaborate, quote unquote, a little bit more. Just make it a little bit more dramatic.
Yeah,
really is.
I mean, I wish we can get these key witnesses that have the most credibility, put them in that kind of just one room, get them to tell their stories. Maybe even, I don't know if you can say take a lie detector, because those things have been proven somewhat not true, right? That people can get away with lie detectors, but just get them in the room without any of the theatrics of these TV shows and get them to tell their stories and kind of look at their body language, right? And again, you can kind of tell there's certain tricks. I mean, there's certain kind of physical movements that you can tell people, body language movements, they can tell liars, right? This is what the intelligent agencies use this information. It's been proven and it's true. That would be a good I think that would be a great TV show without the guitar solo and the spooky music in the guy's voice. What he saw in the back of his truck scared him for a lifetime. I mean, that's what you're getting. I mean, again, it's kind of distorting from what the guys give him his testimony without all the bullshit.
Yeah, I want like a deposition. I want a cold black and white room with a camera and a white light, and then just tell the story. Yeah, I don't need the guitar solo exactly.
Yeah,
it's a production. It's just, I mean, I feel like I've gone overboard putting this pumpkin on the screen tonight.
No, I think it's all right. I think it's all right. What's your time frame? When do you have to go? Because maybe we can go into the Lizard Man and save the rest for the Halloween show. Or what do you want to do? Do you want to save? Do we have time, or do we want to save? Do we want to go into the next story?
I've got 30 minutes. I mean, I've got until the end of the 2 hours for the show, so approximately 30 minutes and change.
We've got 30 minutes. Okay. Maybe we can talk about a little bit the Lizard Man of South Carolina, and then we can go over it again for the Halloween show. But I do have some other stories for the Halloween show. But let's see with the chat. Chat, are you okay with going into the Lizard Man of South Carolina, or is it too much for you?
Can you deal with the Lizard Man?
Can you deal with the Lizard Man? We'll talk a little bit about it. Just have some fun.
Lizard Man is a really creepy story.
Yeah.
Also, I need to let me double check the. Oh yeah, we're very very good on time. We could actually do another hour, but we can save it for the Halloween show.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's talk about the Lizard Man of South Carolina. There's an area there that people have been kind of seeing this lizard-like creature in the swamp area. And I believe the swamp is oh man. Hold on, let me get that right. South Carolina.
So this is a lizard man or a man lizard?
A man lizard, yes. Out by Orc Swamp.
Is it a bird with teeth? Bird has teeth? You remember?
Well, the witnesses kind of describes it as a humanoid. They're calling it lizard because it's got scales, is what they see, and it's got 3 fingers, 3 toes.
Well, that almost sounds like the story of in West Virginia. You know, the story of the Flatwoods Monster.
Yes,
because it didn't have feet. Well, one of the stories, it didn't have feet. It had more of like a serpentine tail, and it kind of hovered, but it was reptile-like. It was lizard-like. That's the only other main lizard story I can think of, except the one that you have. I'm sure there's more.
Yes. Let's go into this. This is kind of again, if you're going to go talk about Lizard Man and all that stuff, I've tried to find the most kind of credible to me, witness. And we have a kid here, a teenager, back in old 1988. His name was Christopher Davis, and he was a witness. He was ending his shift at some fast food restaurant about 2 a.m., going back to his house, driving through the swampy area, and he actually had a flat tire that he went out to go change. And this is his report of the Lizard Man. What happened is when he went to go change the tire, he heard some noises and he heard some rustling, and he saw the figure coming towards him of being a humanoid type figure with scales, red eyes. So he immediately jumped back in his car and heard this thing actually jump on the top of his car, and it was on his roof, kind of scratching at his roof and the side door. Went home, kind of told his parents. His parents kind of tripped out because they realized something was wrong because he was very, very scared. They called the sheriff, who came over, investigated the case, and saw the scratches on the car. And there was actually a news story in the newspaper about it. Did you want me to share my screen, or do you have that photo?
No, I don't. I mean, I think I have it in the Word file maybe you sent me, but if you can share your screen, this makes it a little bit easier.
Yes, let me share my screen here. This is actually a news clipping from the Columbia State, South Carolina State, I guess, local newspaper about what he saw. So let me share my screen here.
People in the chat room are talking about the TV show V.
V, oh yeah, I remember that. The lizard people. 1 second here.
Yeah, no problem, Mike. You're listening to the Secret Teachings Radio. If you're just joining us, one segment left, and then it will be the weekend. And you can go back and listen to all the old shows from the Halloween series. We'll also have a new week of Halloween shows coming up after the weekend, and our Halloween stream next Friday night. TSTradio.info is our website. rdgable@yahoo.com is the email. If you'd like to support the show, you can grab a copy of one of my books, listen to the free show archive, subscribe to the ad-free show archive, etc. The links are all below the show. However you're listening, video or audio only. And this won't matter so much to the people in the audio archive, but if you're listening live right after the show tonight, you can go to groundzeroplus.com and you can listen, or if you have it terrestrial, you can listen to me and Clyde Lewis. Clyde and I do an oracle show, a divination show. We're going to have oracle cards that we pull as well. So get ready to call in and you can talk with us and maybe get an oracle card pulled. That will be Ground Zero Radio after the, well, for those of you listening right now, after the Secret Teachings tonight, but really TST Radio will air after, the recorded show will air after Ground Zero. But most of you know that anyway. I'm just reminding you. All right, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so sharing my screen right now. That is the kind of the picture from the newspaper of what Chris described. Again, green, scale-like skin, 7 feet tall, red eyes, 3-fingered hands. He did his best for the description of the face, which was dark, but he could only make out it kind of had like a pointy head. So that's, you're seeing that to the best because he couldn't really see the face. He saw the red eyes. So if you look down here, this is at the scape or swamp, and that's where he was when he was.
It's a lizard man, but it came out of the swamp area, so it's like a swamp monster.
Yes. So Chris Davis said his car was pushed and then chased at a speed up to 40 miles an hour by the creature as he was changing a flat tire around 2 a.m. There was also another person, Tom and Mary Wayne's car was reportedly chewed up. On July 24th, there was tracks found, and they're saying they were tracks found of a 3-point kind of footprint. Going down here, this is actually the other woman who said that her car was all scratched up by some type of creature, not sure what it was.
Can you see the scratches in this photograph, or are there other photographs that have scratches that show the scratches?
That's I could not find. Again, this is from 1988, so it's kind of an old story. But this is Shirley Way. She's another person that said that her car was attacked, but people have said that, it could be anything. I'm more focused on Chris's story.
Sure.
And this is kind of, if you look over here, let me make it bigger. His story is on the side here. Soft-spoken teenager was heading home 2 a.m., pulled over to a flat tire. He saw some rustling, and he saw some creature coming towards him about 50 yards away. He said the creature grabbed the car door just as Davis sped off. When he reached 40 miles an hour, he noticed it caught up with him. So this thing, it's got speeds up. If he's driving at 40 miles an hour and it caught up with him, this thing can run, which is bizarre. He said he looked in the rearview mirror and he saw something. I heard a crash on my roof. He said he was able to escape with no more than a scratch on his fender. There was a reward by a radio station to find the thing. Anyway.
This is also very similar to the Flatwoods Monster story, too, at least one of the witness accounts. There were these people that were in a car. It was a husband, wife, and their toddler son. About 10 p.m., they were driving on Route 4. West Virginia, near Frametown, I think it was, near Flatwoods. There's Frametown, and their car broke down. That seems to be how every horror movie starts, every scary story. It's like that in the Lizard Man cryptid lore too. Car breaks down, lizard comes out of the woods.
Again, the only thing that kind of makes the story credible to me is, again, the time frame of 1988, the fact that he was a teenager, the fact that the parents called the sheriff because he was so scared about his story, the fact that he was a black, and the fear, not, wanted to tell the story, and the fear, no fear of being ridiculed, right? Because again, you're looking at the time frame of 1988, and you're looking as a teenager, and now you're the Lizard Man citer. You're going to get dogged by people in high school.
Your own people, and everybody else.
Yeah, your own people. Of course, other teenagers are going to just massacre you in school. But he never. The thing about it is he never changed his story, and he was adamant to what he saw, which does make it a little strange.
Well, good for him if it was legitimate. Either that or he's the grandfather of Billy Carson.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go on the Lizard Man.
Now, what was on his head in that depiction?
Nothing really. I think it's just from what it's kind of like a cone-shaped head. That's what you saw on the picture.
It has a cone-shaped
head. Yeah, he said he couldn't really make out the facial features too much, although the drawing that he actually drew the creature himself, and he, no offense to Chris, but he was a terrible artist, but he drew the creature, big creature, and kind of gave him that domed head, that pointy head, but gave him the three fingers, 3 toes also. So
it kind of I don't play this game or watch the movies because I don't like scary stuff, but reminds me of Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. You know what that is?
I remember that movie, but I don't think I've ever saw it. Was that kind of the nuclear family that lived under the stairs, or do I have that one wrong?
I have you got me. I have no idea. I've never played the game. I've never watched the movie. I saw the trailer for the new game because it's in Japan, but I just know that.
Yeah, I don't watch horror movies because after as long as we've been doing it, we know true horror, and it's not some made up movie. It's
yes, yeah. Yes.
We wanted to talk about, kid sacrifice, a priest, a priest killing a nun and stabbing her, in the shape of an upside down cross in her chest.
When was that? Was it back in like the 80s or 90s, or when was that? The Killer Priest.
The Killer Priest might have been actually the 60s, 70s, dude.
Ooh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. And as we know, the things that we've seen and uncovered of, kids being abused and whatnot, and there's a lot more scarier things out there than some, Jason Part 7 or, whatever they got going on now,
Yeah, Michael Myers doesn't really scare me. Neither do a lot of like slasher movies don't scare me. I don't know if they're considered horror movies anyway, but there's stuff like Smile or Terrifier. I just don't want to subject myself to that. I think
what's the Terrifier? Is that the clown or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy. Yeah. There are scarier stories.
And what should scare you too is COVID mandates back in the day, our food and water poisoned, our dollar worth nothing since 1972. The value of our dollar has shrunk and shrunk. That is the horror. That should scare you. That should scare you.
Yes, that should scare you. That should be the Halloween movie you watch.
The human DNA found in our meat supply, all that stuff is real and should scare you a lot more than Dogman or Lizard Man. Because the chances of you actually seeing them, are probably slim, unless you're out in the woods.
Well, think about that in context with other animals, as I mentioned with the flamingo. I mean, how many animals have you seen on the Discovery Channel, or have you heard David Attenborough doing commentary for, and you've never ever seen that animal before? I mean, how many bird species have you seen in your life? Over 50% of everything on this planet, they estimate, is bird. Like of the animal life is bird. So, and how many of those have you actually seen? And so there's
Right.
a
Yeah.
lot of stuff in the world that you've never seen that's very well documented.
Right.
But never seen it. So
Yeah. Just like the numerous sea creatures underneath the ocean that have that, you know, huge giant squids that they recently in the last couple of years have found underneath the ocean. I mean, gigantic, enormous squids, octopuses that they didn't even know existed.
which is the basis for the Kraken myths. It's the basis for the giant sea serpents. It's the basis for most of those sailor stories, which, although they might be exaggerated, they're certainly based on something real.
Yeah. Yeah.
As are vampires and monsters and ghosts and Dogman.
I mean, I look at it like this, you know. I look at kind of the witness testimony. I look at the motive. I look at the, you know, again, what you say. If it goes immediately to all these talk shows, immediately it does the circuit, right? The circus circuit, right? Of them trying to get every penny they can on some book that they've written, or you have like legit people like Linda Gottfried who kind of stumbled in on it, you know, and was so fascinated from witness testimony and what she was hearing, she went full you know, full speed on it, you know.
And she did a journalistic approach like Jim Marrs did too.
Yes.
Read her books.
I have both of her books, and she's got the citations there.
And she's sharing the story and making commentary on it from like a journalistic point of view.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot different than a lot.
I mean, even that, I don't know if he still does, but that David Pilates guy that used to do the 411 missing in the woods, all the people. When he first, I don't know if he still does this because it's been years since I've kind of listened to his stories, but back in the day, he would state he has no idea who is taking these people or what is really happening to these people. All he knows is that there's documented cases of a lot of people missing in these national parks. And if you put military bases in these parks or nearby underground, supposedly underground military bases, you get hot points. Now, does he say, you know, the military are abducting people or Bigfoot or whoever, Dogman? No, he's never said it because he doesn't know. And I respect that.
Well, with any other story, including Dogman, we've broken down the myths and the legends and the science behind that, as well as werewolves and vampires and ghosts and monsters. Same thing with missing people. I mean, first and foremost, the most likely explanation is that people went missing in the woods because they did dumb stuff, like the people that fall off the Grand Canyon frequently and die because they're not paying attention or because they're goofing around or climbing over the fence. That's the first explanation that explains more than half of the cases, I think. Then you have other cases. People flee into the woods and go live there. There's a tremendous number of stories about people that go live in the national forests and eventually either get caught or they find their bodies later. That's another explanation, a natural explanation. And then if you keep breaking it down, then you don't have answers for some of these other cases. Then you start going into other areas. And if you don't have a preconceived conclusion, like he apparently doesn't, which is a good thing, then you can think, okay, maybe is there a military base nearby? Could that have something to do with it? Could it be more supernatural? Something we can't find physical evidence of? Those are possibilities. And people just hear that and think, oh, that must be the answer. It's like, no, it's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the only explanation. But
True. You get these people that go into the woods to commit suicide. You get these people that are not.
There's a whole forest for it over here in Japan. There's a forest dedicated to that. You could go kill yourself in the forest.
Yes. You've got people that are unexperienced hikers that go out and don't bring enough water, get lost, and they die. But then you get cases where a little kid goes missing for 5 days, shows up and says some hairy creature kept him safe in a cave. And then you get people that are missing, is all that's found are their clothes nicely folded, and then a foot, a piece of their foot in a boot. It's just, again, you're mixing
sometimes hundreds of miles away.
Exactly. So you're mixing the bizarre with the with things that can happen and things that are extraordinary, but then you're getting people that's saying, no, it's this totally, or it's that totally. And that's confusing the subject. Because just like you said, everybody that goes out in the woods and disappears doesn't mean that they were, abducted by some type of creature.
But if you want to get on some late night radio show or some talk show, then that's what you have to say.
Yeah. Or
Because
if you want to, you want to have David Wilcock interview, you get on and say that you,
it's a whistleblower.
You went to the underground alien base through an elevator door that had a lock key, a metal door that had a lock key on it, and then you go down further. It was guarded by 2 German shepherds.
Very, very sophisticated. Yeah.
Or you sell blue colored water as an elixir on your website, which is basically food coloring in water, and call it something magical.
$200.
Yeah. So as we stated, there are so many frauds and so much disinformation that there was 2 other Dogman videos that I felt are credible that maybe I'll show for the Halloween show, but that was it. I mean, I went through a lot of different research on the net, and it's just total garbage.
Yep. Most of it is garbage. Most of it.
David Politis, yes, on YouTube. Yes, he is. And I don't know if he's ever come to a conclusion on what or who has abducted these people. I know when I was listening to him that he stated that he just didn't know what it was, that he was confused on what was happening to these people.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with werewolves and vampires and monsters and all the other Halloween stuff we talked about. I don't really know. I don't really, frankly, care what's, quote, real and what's not real in the sense of something being literally like a Hollywood depiction of a monster. It's just a matter of trying to figure out where the stories come from and what they might mean and the context of them. To me, that's more interesting. We're always looking for some like definitive, absolute answer, this like reductionist physical science, which isn't even really science. It's more of like an atrocity. It's a fraud. Science is about exploration. It's about taking things into consideration. It's about not changing your evidence to match your theory. It's about altering the theory to align with the evidence that you have. And that evidence could be physical. It also could be speculative evidence. I mean, there's just like in journalism, they say follow the money. Even if you're not following the money, you're following, an instinct, an intuition. It doesn't mean it's going to lead you to the truth, but the truth is it's not a solid thing. One person's perception of the world, like of a dogman, could for another person be perception of a hyena-like creature.
Yes.
So there's a lot more to it than just what you can physically put down as a piece of evidence. By the way, I found for some reason I can't load this particular Discovery website in Japan. It says it won't allow me to do it, but I found the Investigation Discovery. I think they did like a piece on this North Carolina kid, Casey Hathaway. I don't know if you remember him, but Casey Hathaway was a boy in North Carolina, 3 years old, who went missing from the backyard. And there were people around. I think he had friends around, little other kids around, maybe even a birthday party. I don't recall exactly, but he had other friends around. From the story I remember hearing in the news. And then he disappeared, went missing, couldn't find him. They went through the woods behind the house. They went through the surrounding area. They had search parties, nothing. And then 3 days later, in the same place they looked before, they found this kid in freezing rain in inundated ground, wrapped in like a bush or like thorns or something like this. And he said that a bear took care of him and protected him. And they said that he had almost had no effect. There's been almost no effect on him from exposure to those elements. So what, and that's not even the national forest. That's just somebody's house and the yard behind their house this kid goes missing in. Like, what the hell is that?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. That's a very bizarre story. Just like some of these areas that are called Devil's Point, Devil's Canyon, Superstitious Mountains, they're named for a reason, because some strange stuff is going on there, right? Is it little dwarf men? It's just in the mountains that are taking people in the mountains. I don't know. I can't tell you that. All I can tell you is that, just like this story that they have on screen, is there are some bizarre stuff that's looking at it a rational mind with some type of you know, evidence. How can this kid just show up like that and then, you know, not hurt by the elements, weather elements, and then claims a friendly bear looked after him?
Yep. There's never been an explanation given for that, like a confirmed explanation of what that was or what happened. I mean, that kid's got to be, how old was the story? That kid's got to be 6, 7. He's got to be 10 years old by now. I wonder if there's ever been a follow up but either way, it's like a David Paulides story, but it has nothing to do with like people going missing in the national forest somewhere. It's a kid that goes missing out of the backyard, and he was right there the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think? What do you think out there, chat land?
Let's see if anybody in the chat, we do have to wrap up here very soon. So let's see if anybody in the chat has any opinions. Do you know what happened to Casey Hathaway, or have an opinion on the missing people or any of that?
Even Dogman, what's your feelings out there on what kind of the stories we went over? Is there any type of semblance of truth? Are these just myths and folklore? Is this goofy to you? Is this something that you think might exist in some kind of form or fashion?
And if you don't think it's interesting, what if I told you that all these stories come from my insiders?
Yeah.
Insiders have shared.
What if I told you that I got all this information from St. Michael, and if you send me $777, I can teach you to levitate? Would that kind of wet your whistle out there?
Yeah. Antonio said anything is possible. Flex, I think it's possible. That's really the only answer, because I mean, you can have a theory, but nobody really knows.
I think you're right. I think that it is possible. Again, though, with this technology increases every week with this AI and with these programs, it's going to be harder and harder to tell fake from from real. It's going to be, and that's the part that's going to that sucks, right? Because you're going to have these hoaxsters and these frauds like make videos and pictures, seem believable.
Yeah. So if you think back to what I said about like an Art Bell show in the 90s, and you have to go to his website to see these pictures that people have emailed him, that is a world that doesn't exist anymore, because obviously now you can stream a live video show and show stuff on the screen, and there's just such an oversaturation and inundation of content and information that it's hard to keep up with what's out there, let alone with what's accurate or what might be more accurate. And if you look at those old stories, I mean, think about all those like fascinating Art Bell interviews or phone calls. The Area 51 guy, completely staged. The story of the guy putting the alien in his freezer, total nonsense. And those are entertainment. And I think a lot of people understood that a lot of that's just entertainment. And Art Bell would have people on that were totally making it up, and he'd play around with it, and maybe he believed some stuff, didn't believe other stuff. I don't know. But he at least made it entertaining, and it was questionable, and it was I'd even say professional. And there's virtually none of that anymore, or very little of that anymore. I try to do that.
Right. Yeah. I think
Zero does the same thing, but there's very little of that anymore. It's just people trying to get over on others and become the number one name and make the most money and have the most insiders. It's nonsense.
What I liked about Art Bell back in the day were the truck, when he got into the scary stuff, was the truck driver stories of some of the bizarre stuff that truckers seen on the road.
Yeah.
And there was an instance of like a trucker was driving and was going to pull off to a gas station that was normally there, but it wasn't there. And then he drove further down the road, and there was a different gas station. So it was kind of an alternate reality. And then he went into the gas station because he was totally confused. And the newspapers were there, and it said Chris Cornell of Soundgarden dies of overdose was the newspaper header. I don't know if you can believe that, but some of the truck driver stories were spooky, scary, and entertaining. Now, again, are they true? I don't know. I think
Well,
I think you could probably find some scary stuff though at a truck stop at 2 a.m. in the bathroom. That's probably for sure.
You can find it during the daytime, I'd assume. And well, that's just like the guy that was a carcass removal professional. I mean, your living is to scrape dead animals off the road, and you're at the crossroads, and you're doing this at night, and you see something, and I mean, you could, whether you're tired or whether you're hungry or you want to go home, I mean, those things factor into what you see as much as being on drugs do, or being inebriated and intoxicated in some other way. People get sleepy, or if you're driving long stretches of road, you don't have to be a truck driver to know that you're driving long stretches of road. You're a little bit tired, and you just start to kind of hallucinate and see things. I've done it. I have no idea when I was driving to Salt Lake City, I was in the process of moving across the country one time, I saw some gigantic bird, but I have no idea how gigantic it actually was because I don't know about the shadows and the lights, and I don't know how high it was, and it was very fast, but it looked like a very large bird. And I told Linda Godfrey that story too, and I didn't make it into a book because I was like, I don't really care to tell the story. It's not really a story. It's just like I saw something for 2 seconds and then it was over. It's just, I have no idea what it was. So yeah, most of this stuff is fabricated for entertainment, for profit, for whatever the case might be. It might just be for driving someone's ego, But people in the chat room are saying pretty much the same thing we're saying. Other people are saying that. I'll bring up some of these comments real quick before we're out of time. Brad Pitbull said, "Thank you for covering the subject. I do believe these cryptids exist. I have spoken with people who have never spoken on a cell phone or used the internet with their own experiences." A lot of people have those experiences, even when they're not connected to the internet, I suppose. I'm sure there's people out there like that. You just don't hear them because they don't get on social media.
Yeah, or they're too embarrassed, or they don't want to recount this situation. They kind of would just put it away as a traumatic event, probably for some of these people. You see how we talk about this stuff. We know some of these creatures, so if we saw one, yeah, we'd be tripped out. But I don't think we'd be as tripped out as someone who doesn't even know these things exist, and they see some type of rake or some dogman. That would really traumatize a vast majority of the population out there.
Yeah, and you also have to think about it from the point of view of someone who's really religious. People that see the president lighting candles in the White House and says, "That's a satanic, demonic holiday to heathen pagan gods." It's like, no, it's a fucking candle. And it's the fucking light of the sun. And it's a Bic lighter. It's not the devil. And if you have those kinds of people that see a dogman, I mean, that's going to be any and every demon or every evil thing they've ever heard of or perceived from the Bible. And then they have like this hysterical reaction to it. And it's Satan incarnate. El Diablo. It's the devil.
Yes.
It's probably not that. It's a lot to do with your perception.
Yeah, then you have probably people that have seen things as, let's say, cops or EMTs have probably seen stuff where they can't come forward because it would actually probably affect their career.
Yeah, probably.
They can't go back to the station and say, "Hey, I think I just saw a dog man," right? Or I think I just saw a Mothman flying with giant wings. They're going to be probably ridiculed and also kind of looked at differently by their fellow cops. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think we know that's the case for pilots. I mean, there's been restrictions on what pilots can say, both in terms of the military, where there's actual like policy restrictions, and then there's restrictions that are kind of social for pilots, where you say it and you're going to be out of a job.
Yes.
Just keep quiet.
Yeah, people are saying out there Mothman, and that is a freaky story on the Mothman. I believe I have the book written by what's the investigator? I haven't read it in a long time, but I have the book by the famous UFO investigator who wrote a book on
John Keel.
Yes, I have that book. And that is a freaky story. Again, another type of creature is winged. They call it a Mothman.
It wasn't a Batman at first, but they couldn't really promote and push that because of the comic.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out is the wings of it and some of the eyewitness stuff, and then not to say again, you're kind of looking at the paranormal and non-paranormal about the bridge collapse thing too. But again, I'm
my
kind of
grandma was one of the people that had like a premonition of that. A lot of people in West Virginia had dreams about that before it happened.
that's bizarre.
Yep.
Go ahead. Did you say your grandma?
Yeah, she had dreams of that before it happened. A lot of people had dreams of that before the Silver Bridge collapsed.
Yeah, there was actually, I think kind of Mothman kind of died down for a bit, but then I believe a couple years ago there was some extra sightings of the creature again around that area.
Yeah, it's been popularized in Chicago. There's a lot of Mothman sightings in Chicago. Do you want to do? We have to stop the show. Or
Yes.
go an hour. Do you want to do another hour, or do you want to stop and save everything for next week?
Let's save because I have the Cecil. I didn't pronounce that right. The Cecil, I believe it's pronounced Cecil Hotel out in California. I have a rake story that's pretty good, and then I'm gonna actually I've got 2 other stories. I like to save them. Let's just save it for the Halloween show.
All right, let's do that. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that over here in Japan, there isn't really a dogman per se, but there is a kitsune, which is the Japanese for fox. And the foxes over here are kind of like the coyotes of the American Southwest. They're very tricking, trickster-like, and they trick people. They're very cunning. They're very tricky. They're very manipulative. And they manifest as both beautiful men, beautiful women. They lead people astray. Sometimes in the myths, they will turn into a woman or a man and marry somebody. There's a lot of stories like that with other animals as well. But that probably also comes out of, in every culture, cultures that are much more connected to the natural world around them and rely on things that are much more natural. Your crops and your animals, agricultural societies, farming societies that deal with animals and things directly rather than going to a grocery store. So when you're dealing with stuff like that directly, you get in Europe the black goat that becomes the devil, and you get in Japan the fox that becomes the trickster, or the coyote in the American Southwest, or the hyena, or whatever. There's other versions of this around the world, as we said. But yes, the kitsune is a very popular werewolf-like story in Japan, except it's not a werewolf, it's a were-fox.
Were-fox.
Were-fox. And they're also they're more like mystical. A lot of the kami and a lot of the yokai and stuff over here in Japan is much more kind of whimsical. Well, at least from a Western perspective, it's whimsical. I think, like my wife will say, Western horror movies don't scare me because I know it's fake, but Japanese stuff terrifies me because it's real. It's just a matter of perspective and where you're from and how you see the world. But anyway, Mike, thanks for joining us. You have any comments on that? And then finalize your comments for the show, please.
No, it's interesting that the fox is kind of the werewolf of Japan. It's interesting.
Yeah, and if the werewolf was like a universal thing where people transformed into it, you'd expect to see the werewolf everywhere, and it's not. It changes based on the region and where you are. If you're in China, you see were-tigers.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on the animals around you.
Yes.
Great show, says Antonio.
Oh, thank you.
Everybody else in the chat.
Remember to send your $777.
Yes, money now. Send the money.
Swampcast.
I've got insiders. Pay me. All right, we're joking around. Mike, thanks for joining us on the show. I'm going to go prepare for our Oracle show on Ground Zero. You already
Nice.
heard that. Thank you for
Nice.
listening.
I'll try to give a listen tonight.
Call in.
I'll try to. Will I get censored? I'm just joking.
No, what is I used to have the number memorized, 503-225-0860, I think. I'll text you the number. You can try to call in.
Text me the number. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Divination, and we're going to pull Oracle cards tonight for listeners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you get a chance, call in.
Like the 10 of Cups?
No, not tarot. These are actually, they're called oracle cards. It's like a special symbol deck of oracle cards that Claude and I both have. We've done shows on it in the past.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, I thank you everybody for listening out there. Hope you enjoyed the show. It's supposed to be kind of lighthearted at the same time, informational.
Yes.
I like the fact that people out there, think that it could exist. I am in agreement with you. There's things out there that we truly don't understand. What they actually are, I have no idea. We just tried to have a little fun tonight and hope that everybody had a good time, and then we'll try to do the same thing next week for the Halloween show.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Tim Curley said we've done our due diligence. Thanks for the fun show, Ryan and Mike. I thought that was an L, and I thought he called you Michael. Like it's an exclamation mark. Tim Curley thanks you for the show.
Oh.
This is actually the Archangel Michael. This is we've got him on an audio feed here.
No, thank you, folks. I hope everybody had a good time. Try to share the show around because we're definitely, like Ryan said in the beginning, we're being throttled. Just looking kind of at the data, we were getting like 1,000 views on these videos after they're posted. Now we're down to like 300, 400. So they're definitely shadow banning us and they're throttling us. So if you could share this show out to folks and like and subscribe, that would also help. We're not asking for any type of money, just trying to get the show out.
But then the main show is Monday through Friday, so this is just mostly for video.
Yeah, this is kind of just like a treat, but we're still trying to, get as many views and eyes on it as possible.
Yep, this is a treat, so don't trick us.
Yeah, no, this is exactly.
All right, Mike, you have a good night. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go wrestle my Dogman now to the ground over here, and I'll.
Yeah. He's probably been looking in the window while we've been talking.
I'll let you know how it goes.
All right, have a good night.
All
Good
right.
luck.
See ya.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you for tuning into the Secret Teachings tonight. I'm Ryan Gable. rdgable@yahoo.com is the email. tstradio.info is the website. Have a great night. I'll talk to you in the next broadcast.